Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into something that literally keeps our entire society running. But honestly, it almost always flies completely under the radar. We're talking about the dignity of labor. We're going to break down exactly why we systemically devalue essential work, look at the hidden socioeconomic costs of this bias, and most importantly, map out an actionable roadmap to fix it. So let's just get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. A last resort for those who have failed in other areas. Just think about that statement for a second. We're talking about the absolute backbone of our communities, the folks keeping our supply chains moving, our spaces clean, and our cities functioning. And yet, there's this pervasive, frankly toxic narrative out there that doing this vital, everyday work is somehow a sign of personal failure. It's a really harsh perspective, and we absolutely need to unpack exactly how it operates.
So, that brings us to Section 1, the devaluation of jobs.
Now, you might be thinking this is just about people having a bad attitude or being a bit judgmental, but it's so much bigger than that. When our societal bias frames essential jobs as a mark of failure, the reality is we're actively stripping away human dignity. This mindset totally ignores how genuinely necessary these workers are. And worse, it kind of gives society a cultural green light to treat the human doing the job as lesser. That doesn't just hurt feelings, it actively perpetuates these really deep social inequalities and harmful stereotypes. And that has massive structural consequences for all of us.
Which leads right into Section 2, the true cost of bias.
So, what actually happens when society devalues your daily work? I want you to imagine your own life for a minute. You wake up, you head into your workplace, you put in an incredible amount of effort, but the overwhelming message you're getting from the world around you is that your effort is looked down upon. How would that shape your day-to-day life? How would it change your trajectory or even just your fundamental sense of self-worth?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it outlines the cascading, systemic domino effect this creates. It all starts with reduced social status. And we're not just talking about missing out on prestige. It leads straight into active discrimination, intense stigma, and just profound isolation. And because the market essentially mimics these societal biases, this immediately translates into lower wages and really unsafe, poor working conditions. Ultimately, it traps people. Opportunities to advance become incredibly limited because these biases basically slap a structural ceiling right over their potential. It's a vicious cycle that's almost impossible for a person to break out of on their own.
And right here is where the economic cost becomes a devastating human cost. When there's a total lack of recognition and respect, it leads directly to severe stress, anxiety, and depression. We aren't just talking about career ladders and paychecks anymore. When you are constantly fed this feeling of inferiority by the very society you're serving, your mental health takes an absolute beating. So, the devaluation of labor, it's fundamentally a public health issue, just as much as it is an economic one.
All right, let's pivot to Section 3, reclaiming labor's dignity.
The good news here is that mindsets can totally be changed, and this brilliantly illustrates our clear, actionable roadmap for restoring dignity to all vocations. It starts with proactive education and awareness, really challenging those negative stereotypes right at their root. But, talk is cheap. It has to be backed by tangible action. We're talking fair wages and safe working conditions. Real respect isn't just giving someone a polite nod. It's ensuring equitable compensation and literally protecting their physical health. And finally, it takes deliberate, ongoing recognition to truly honor the everyday contributions these workers make to our world.
When we actually connect the dots and put these solutions into practice, we hit the ultimate goal: a more just and equitable society where everyone genuinely has the opportunity to thrive. Valuing all forms of labor isn't just some economic theory, it's the absolute bedrock of building a fair, functioning system for all of us. Because when everyone's work is dignified, everyone can thrive, and the entire community becomes inherently stronger. It's a real game changer.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. If every single vocation truly contributes to our society, like if we quite literally could not function without them, isn't it about time we actually respect them all? Just take a second today to think about your own daily interactions and maybe some of the subtle biases that might be sneaking in there. Let's make sure we're giving every vocation the dignity it absolutely deserves. Thanks so much for joining me to break this down, and keep learning out there.